Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. How are you, wherever you are? I am Tisch McDaniel, founder and CEO of Choose to Win Every Day, and a co-author in the book Life's Checkmark. I have with me here today, and a lot of you know that I love to give names to people. And so I've been calling the publisher Dad because he's responsible for 20 authors. And then the production manager, and we'll introduce her in a second, calling her Mom. So I feel right at home having Mom and Dad on with us. Also, besides Mom and Dad, we have my niece, Lindsay Stadel, and her daughter, my great niece, Cassidy Kloth, is running late because of traffic. They were in the area in Kansas where tornadoes were dancing around last night. And as I said, Mom, the production manager of Life's Checkmark anthology, Giselle Quintanilla, who is also a co-author. And the name of the book, and of course we'll kind of slight Dad just a little. He's our special guest. The book, Life's Checkmark: Inspiring Journeys Beyond Life's Expected Path. And let me see here. One second, making sure. One sec. Isn't that always so great about going live? Right. We have Cassidy joining us. It is streaming. It is live, and we have Cassidy. All right. Cassidy Kloth, the great niece. We were just talking about your daughter and how she was on last week. The flyer that all of the co-authors and of course Mom and Dad have been sharing, what I thought was so cool, the quotes that were pulled out of our chapter overlaid onto our picture. And so I want to share those because those are just so profound, just so who we are, embody who we are. My quote, I decided I would take ownership of my healing, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Lindsay's quote, I started to understand that my survival wasn't punishment, it was purpose. Cassidy's quote, let's see here. Cassidy's quote, that was when I learned not every kind of love is safe. And Giselle's quote, when God removes the check marks, we have a choice. Trust him or try to rebuild life on our own terms. My journey of surviving a near fatal car crash is the reason I had to take ownership of my recuperation. Being told I would be in a wheelchair, and I'm not. Well, of course, I can't share all of my story. You'll have to buy the book. Why did I join the anthology? Being in a community with other co-authors, it's a family, and that's why it's called It's a Family Affair. And I grew up in a large family, so it only made sense that I would still join other communities to make the family grow larger. Now, drum roll. The person, the person behind Life's Checkmark, that is Jonathan Emery, affectionately known as Dad, because he's in charge of 20 authors. And while I think it's challenging keeping up with 20-some rescue animals. I think they're a lot easier to control than the adults, right, Dad? Right, Jonathan?
That's right.
Before we jump into asking Jonathan questions, let's go to Lindsay real quick. Lindsay, you'll share the meaning behind your quote, and then Cassidy, and then Giselle. And then we'll jump into our engaging discussion with Jonathan. So, Lindsay, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Tish. I appreciate that. My quote again, I started to understand that my survival wasn't punishment, it was purpose. What does that mean? To me, it means that I began to realize that my survival wasn't something to feel guilty, ashamed, or confused about. It was something meaningful. At its core, it reflects a transformation in my perspective. I stopped seeing survival as a consequence or a burden. And I started seeing it as a reason that I'm still here, an opportunity to help others through my story. My story, I'm a suicide attempt survivor. But if you want more of the story, you'll have to get in touch with one of us co authors to buy the book. Now, the quote also carries a deeper emotional truth, I think. For a long time, survival can feel heavy. Like, why did I make it through this when others did not? But purpose reframes that question into what am I meant to do because I survived? So, my quote ultimately means that my survival was not the end of my story. It became the reason that my story matters.
Wow.
And then why did I join the movement with Jonathan? I I joined Life's Checkmark because its message mirrors the transformation that I've lived myself. You know, I know what it feels like to stand at the edge of hopelessness and still choose to keep going. Life's checkmark represents that belief and that life still has meaning after all of the pain. And that
Mm-hmm.
survival can become service, impact, and even purpose. It aligns directly with my mission of helping people move from breaking point to breakthrough. And at a deeper level, the moment gave movement, sorry, Jonathan's movement gave me a community and somewhere that I was able to share my story without fear of repercussion or without fear of being looked down upon. So every person that's still breathing has value, purpose, and has a reason to keep going. They're not alone. Their darkest moment does not define them. And I think that that is what Life's Checkmark really brings to the table and helps us understand.
Wow. Cassidy, the mic is yours. Nothing like coming in and being called upon. Share with us what your quote means to you. High level summary. Why did you join the movement with John? And we, of course, will tell everyone we're not going to tell you the whole story, just pieces to grab your attention.
Can you try to unmute her, please, Tish? It's not allowing her to unmute.
Okay. There we go. There we go. It is not allowing me to unmute her either.
We might all have to get really good at reading lips tonight.
We'll have
Yeah.
to we'll have to come back to
Do you want to
Cassidy.
try leaving Cassidy and coming back in and see if that
Yeah,
works?
that's what I love about lives.
Yeah, I was going to say
It
live
is,
streaming is always so much fun.
it is
Never
real
know.
life. It is real life. So,
So,
so we will go to Giselle. So, the mic is yours.
all right. I will thank you for having me on here and allowing me to join this amazing live. Your lives have been great. I'm going to share my quote. I know you read it earlier. So my quote was, when God removes the check marks, we have a choice: trust him or try to rebuild life on our own terms. And that quote, for me, when I wrote it, was really about every time that I've gone through something, I had a choice. And I could either lean into God or I could figure it out on my own, which never leads to anything good. And and everything that you have to build, you have to sustain. You know, everything that you build, you have to sustain. And we weren't designed for that. So sharing my story, my story is really about my journey with God and everything that I've gone through since, which has been a lot and way too much to tell on here. So that's why everybody has to get the book.
Yeah, you're good. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. Everybody's got to get the book because this is way too much. And we don't have that kind of time. So, but but it really was from a place of, there are so many people who go through stuff and they're tired and they're frustrated and they are stuck because they're trying to do it on their own. And so all of those check marks, all of those things you think you need to do, you think you need to accomplish, you think you need to have in place, but really, God shows us we don't need that. We just need him. So, that was really, my heart behind that quote and what I wrote in my chapter. And life's checkmark. So, when John first introduced the concept of the book, I was like, that's so cool. I've never seen anything like that. Like, I've never seen anybody. And this was very, very like embryonic, right? So, it was like, I have this idea for a book, right? And we weren't even really, I wasn't even the project manager yet. He was just telling me the idea. And I love hearing people's ideas about books. So I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I think that's great. You should definitely do it. And I think it was maybe on our second virtual call that he, was talking more about pricing. And I was like, well, and I'm like still telling him. And one thing about me, Tish, is I'm very oblivious. I am not as like that. So you tell me something and it just goes right over my head. And so, he kept talking to me like, okay, so, and I said, well, do you want me to do it? Like, is that why we're having this conversation? And he said, yeah. So I joined though. This is my first anthology. I am a 5-time published author. This is my first anthology that I said, I was like, okay, I want to join it. And it's because, John is so passionate about sharing people's journeys. That is, he lives it, breathes it, all the things. And I think that, for me, it lines up with how I feel about stories helping other people press on. Life is hard and everything that's going on in the world and in the country is hard, right? Everything. And so, but when you hear that somebody else is going through it or somebody else has gone through it already and you're not alone and you're not the only one who feels the way you feel or who's tired the way you're tired or who's whatever, it helps you to want to face another day. And so for me, Life Checkmark, yeah, it was absolutely a movement. And, and I was honored to be part of the anthology and to share my story. And I'm super grateful. And in that, I love it because I inherited a family. I didn't know y'all, right? A lot of you, you see people, you see people on screen and you're like, yeah, you know them, but you don't really know them, right? And you don't do life with them until you're in an anthology and are sharing. And so that I appreciate that so much. So that's why that is why I joined. Yes.
Yes, and I have given you many titles: mom, production manager, project manager, whatever, right? You will get in there and help and do what is best and get it done. And that's what we love about you. The publisher, it's interesting how the anthology came about, and I am not going to steal his thunder. I will let either one of the others ask about that, but let me tell you something about how great Dad is. So he's the creator, host of Life's Checkmark podcast. Now, are you paying attention? One of the top 10% podcasts in the world. We are so proud, I tell you. He does coaching for aspiring creators. It's called Prevent Podcrastination. I love that. 3 years of his storytelling mission has evolved into live events, public speaking, a supportive hub for creators determined to make their voices heard, which is called Podcasters Hub. He's also a co-author in an anthology called Surrender to Rise, King's Edition by Elena Rodriguez. And on May the 5th, Jonathan hosted his 200th episode of Life's Checkmark podcast. So now we are so proud and honored to welcome John Emery. Hi, John. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Tish. Thanks for having me. This is awesome, and I appreciate all the hard work that you're putting into this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's nothing compared to what you and your project manager have been working on. We appreciate it. Lindsay, go ahead and jump in.
Sounds good. Well, hello, Jonathan. It's good to see you again. I'm curious what your vision was and why you started the podcast.
Yeah, so the podcast, it goes back where I lost my job after 20 years, and then I wound up going through a divorce within the same year. But before that word came to me, I listened to a podcast and I joined a community of men to navigate through that, not knowing where it was going to go. So essentially, as others tell that, a podcast saved my life. I don't know where my life would be if I didn't reach out to a community of men that I'd never met before. I have no idea. So that was number one, right? I listened to a podcast that changed my life. And then I wanted to know how other people are navigating through their lives. What are they experiencing? How they got through it. And so I created Life's Checkmark so people can come on and share their journey. I look for open, honest, authentic, vulnerable people that want to share that in the hopes that somebody else can listen to it or watch it and know that they're not alone, and they can reach out to the guest, myself, or somebody else that can guide them through whatever they're going through.
Wow, that's awesome. I love listening to why podcasters create or what their vision is for their podcast, because it really gives you I think, a look into what's going on, in their head and what their reason is behind helping people. So I really appreciate, you sharing that. And I appreciate being on the podcast as well. That was a lot of fun, and I love listening to your podcasts. Tell me something about your Prevent Podcrastination program and what the reason was that you created that.
Yeah, so it's 64 modules to take you from 0 episodes to 10 episodes. You have me as a one-on-one coach, and they're simple and easy to follow. the goal is to have 10 episodes and launch your own podcast. And then the encouragement just to keep moving forward, because a lot of podcasters start 90%, I think it's 90% don't get past episode 3. And so they just fall off, and there's another percentage after that. They just don't make it, they don't make it past episode 21. And if you do, you're in the top 1%, right? Because so many people start one, then they fail. I don't want those people that want to have a podcast for the reason I might have my own podcast to quit, right? So this is the encouragement, the inspiration, and just continue to keep pushing to move forward. Um, so why I created it was because I was mentioned, or it was told to me, like, start a podcast, and I was taking 10 old videos I had and strip the audio and start with that. And it's nothing that my podcast is today. I hesitated for 6 months and then I started, and it did exactly what that person told me. So I don't want people that hesitate like I did. So to me, that's the podcastination part. And if you have that podcast idea and you want to create it, like, let's just start now, because you're just going to postpone it. And people need to hear what you have to say or hear what your guests have to say. I don't care what your podcast is about, but if it's not being out there and being shared to the world, then nothing's being told. And so people need to hear whatever that is.
Wow.
Wow. And you've reached episode 200. So that is absolutely insane. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I love hearing that. Tish had shared that Life's Checkmark podcast is one of the top 10% of podcasts in the world. And that on May 5th, it was your 200th episode of Life's Checkmark. Tell us, how does that feel knowing that you hit episode 200, and what this movement has taught you over the past year?
So it feels good, even though some others might think, oh yeah, he doesn't express anything. But it's a lot of hard work and being consistent and showing up. And that's what allowed me to get to where I am today, right? And so we did that episode 200 in person. It was with guests I had previously, and that was the way we kind of celebrated that. I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
You're good. Tell us how it feels and what the movement has taught you over
The
the year.
movement. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
movement is all about reaching those people that need to hear your journey, Lindsay and Cassidy and Tish and Giselle and everybody else that's been on my podcast. And just to know that you're sharing it, and whoever listens to it, we don't know who, right? But the idea is it's going to hit those people. And so I mentioned like the part in the Bible about Abraham and stuff a lot lately, and how he's talking about the stars of your descendants and everything like that. And so to me, that's how I'm starting to see that. And I don't know how many stars we're hitting. You're never going to get the comments and stuff. So Lindsay, you're touching so many people right now. You don't know that. But you just sharing what you had to share is enough to get it out to the world and change somebody else's life, whether they're committing suicide or they're dealing with somebody that has tried that, right? And so Cassie shared her journey. So that's why I continue to do what I do. And it's great. I'm filled with joy just for you guys being part of this book and sharing the message, and doing this, Tish, is just another way to show up and perform to the world. So I appreciate this very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Awesome.
And what we are going to do is flip things. Miss Cassidy, Giselle needs to leave early. So we are going to have her go next. And then Cassidy will go. And then Cassidy can share what her quote means to her and why she joined. And then that way we can, it'll be a lot easier transition.
Okay.
Yes, Giselle, the mic is yours.
All right. Okay. Well, I was sitting here listening because I could listen to this man all day. So, I have a question then for you, John. What inspired you to become a publisher? Now that you're a publisher of an anthology.
Yeah. So I never thought about being a publisher. I didn't even know what that was, right? Everybody's like, oh, you're a publisher now. I'm like, for what? What'd I do? So first I wanted to find a way to bring my guests together, right? And I didn't know what that was. So I first thought of like a retreat because everybody loves retreats. And what is the common theme there of them coming together and sitting around in a room and talking for 2 or 3 days? Besides being on the podcast, I didn't see that being something where everybody would just show up. So after being in several anthologies and seeing some formats like the Born to Risk, I kind of just saw that and thought about it. And, with me having the podcast, I added the other feature with the podcast part. So that's a way I was able to bring some guests together for this. And I'm looking to do more. And that's really what it wasn't about the publishing part, being the publisher. It was just about bringing the guests together to share stories. As Tish has been doing this, I think that you've had several that have been on here that never been in a book before. They never written, a chapter before. So that's exciting news for them. It's also exciting for them to meet people that have done it as well. And so they're growing, right? And so now they're getting their message out there even further, and it's tangible and they can hold it. So that's why I started the book and bringing the guests together.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's a really great mix that you have in this anthology. And that's exciting. And I know that was your heart, to bring the guests together. So with this journey of the anthology, of being, you mentioned consistency with becoming, getting your 200th episode. Now you're over 200. And becoming a top 10%, right? Which is amazing. And I always say that. How do you overcome challenges? Because there's people out here who want to start podcasts, but they're discouraged, right? Or they give up, or they don't know where to start. And so how do you navigate that? Because this was 3 years ago and you've accomplished so much. And I am going to say this because it's being streamed, your stuff. Like, you're not just a podcaster, podcasting. And I need everybody to know that who's listening. So talk about how to navigate when you're not feeling it, when you are discouraged, when you don't get all the downloads.
Yeah, so I'll first start with, I didn't start it to build the audience or to monetize. And so I think that's where people get discouraged because that's what they look for first. And so when they put out 3 episodes and they fail, first, they didn't know how much work there was going to be. Second, they didn't have the huge audience right away. And they didn't get money like they thought they were going to expect to get right away from sponsorships or something. So I always go back to know your reason, your want, your desire, your why for having the podcast, and have that be your foundation to start, and have that be the place where you go back if you feel like giving up. So that's always been, I just shared with you why I do it. And that's exactly why I continue to do it. If I looked at focusing on making money, I would have quit a long time ago, or I probably would have never even started, right? Because the money part doesn't come easy in podcasting, as a lot of people think. And building the audience doesn't come easy either, right? So there's hard work here. But once you know your why and stick with that, then you'll just continue to keep moving forward. Even if you're posting you're doing 1 podcast episode a month, right? You're still getting something out there. And it's just showing up and doing the one thing that you've never done before, and you're making a difference, a totally different way of showing up to the world. And podcasts, I don't know if you know, I mean, there's a lot, but there's not a lot that are active, a lot that aren't showing up and doing 1 per week. So there's a lot of room for growth. People just think it's saturated, and it's really not.
It's not. Yes. So if anyone is listening here and is interested in starting a podcast, what would you say would be their first step?
Well, know your reason, your why to have a podcast first. What is that? Is it to be the funnel for your business? It could be that. Is it just to share journeys kind of like mine? Is it a comedy or music? Is that the kind of podcast you're aiming towards? I think start with that, and then let's navigate, like, how do you do that? How do you start the podcast? So it's always that first step.
And the second step is to contact John Emery, because he's amazing.
Okay. And the third step is to contact Giselle Quintanilla.
Yes.
Mom and Dad.
Thank you. Well,
Awesome.
I'm gonna go ahead and thank you, John. I'm trying not to call you babe. Thank you, John.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'll go ahead and pass the mic to Cassidy.
Yes, thank you. Cassidy, real quick, let's have you share what your quote means to you. And it's kind of funny because we always ask Cassidy, Lindsay, and I, why did you join the movement with John? You cannot say it's because of me and your mom. We are going
But I
to
mean,
we are going to draw a line in the sand and say, come up with another reason because you could still not have joined. So something deep inside you said, yeah, let's go. So make up another reason.
I'll try my best. So as far as my quote, that was when I learned not every kind of love is safe. To me, there came a point in my life when I realized that something completely changed the way I understood love. Because not every kind of love is safe. So for a long time, love to me was sacrifice. It was fixing problems for other people. It was enduring whatever I needed to, um, just to have the relationship and to have that feeling of love. And I confused a lot of intensity with intimacy, and there was a lot of emotional dependency for myself on other people and for other people on me. And if somebody needed me deeply, that meant to me that I mattered, no matter how they needed me. So for some of my relationships in life, it taught me that love can sometimes look convincing while quietly destroying you, without even realizing it. So I learned what it feels like to carry an emotional weight of other people's pain, while it's also causing pain for me, and to feel responsible for keeping someone else okay before keeping myself okay. So to stay in relationships that were unhealthy caused a lot of guilt for me. I didn't have a lot of freedom. I didn't really know what freedom was until later on in life, when I really got the chance to step back and realize that that wasn't love. That love should be effortless. It comes in different ways. It shouldn't be forced. And when I came to that realization, it changed what love meant entirely. I know I've said in other episodes that love for me is God first. He has made all the realizations in my life. He's made everything possible. Everything I've gone through in life and my relationships, I've gotten through because of him. And I am where I am today because of that. And I wouldn't change anything to be where I'm at. I have a beautiful daughter who loves me endlessly. She's loved me since the day she was developed, and she didn't even know why. She knew I was her mom, and that love was unconditional. There is no strings attached, and she has showed me the true meaning of what love is and will continue to be. And no matter what battles we may ensue in the future, I'm always going to be her mom, and I'm always going to love her, just like Lindsay's always going to be my mom, and nobody can take that away. And I will always love her in our own special way. So, I've learned a lot that love is something I can finally understand is meant to feel safe. And as far as joining Jonathan's podcast, and his journey here, man, they're still convincing to this day. I know I've mentioned that before, but there is uniqueness, and there is something special about what I've gone through. Yes, I believe that there are people who have gone through worse or different or what have you. But for what I went through that was the worst for me at that moment, at that time. And I want to be able to help somebody in their worst moment and help them realize that there is a flip side. There is greener grass on the other side. If I hadn't gone through what I went through, I wouldn't have my daughter today. I wouldn't have my amazing husband who supports me through everything. I wouldn't have my relationship with my mom that we've never had before. So I'm very thankful for that, and that I want to be able to show people that it gets better if you stick through it and you wait for the other side to come.
That's awesome. So now jump into those engaging questions.
Yes, yes. So I know it's been mentioned, Jonathan, on May 5th that you celebrated your 200th episode. Congratulations. I couldn't imagine. So out of all 200 episodes, please tell me which one has been the most memorable episode besides my own.
And besides me. And besides
Tish.
Lindsay.
And
besides Giselle.
So it's not like, for me, it's not the person that I'm interviewing or whatever, but I think sometimes it's the journeys, right? Because I don't know sometimes what they've gone through. Even if I do a 20-minute like intro call, let's get to know each other before we do a recording, make sure it's a good fit. And sometimes we don't even talk about the stuff we're going to talk about on the podcast because we just go into a conversation. So I don't remember the woman's name off the top of my head, and it was way back in the early stage, but it always comes to my mind because I was shocked by what she shared, where she had multiple personalities, and it was about 6 of them, and she realized that they were still in her when she was like 45. She thought she got rid of them, found out that they were still with her, and then she was able to work on them, and that each one had a number that represented when that personality came out in her life. For like age 6 would be something where she was angry or something like that. So I don't remember everything off the top of my head, but I like to this day, that's just like stuck in me. Like to think that something's gone, and then she wound up, I think, had surgery or something on her leg. And then that's when everything started to turn around and it was still there. So she had to work on it. And so she came out of it, she told me. And that's why, I still remember that to this day. And so that's the most memorable to me. And that's not to take away from anybody else's journey out of 200 plus, people, but that's just one of the ones that spark, me, where I think about that, like, how'd you deal with that? Right. And, be split up in your head in ways that I can't even comprehend. Yeah.
You're obviously gonna remember bits and pieces of everybody's because they're all important to you. If they weren't, you wouldn't have them in a book with you. But just because they're memorable doesn't mean that it takes away from anyone else. There's just something about it that stuck with you. So out of the 20 other authors in the anthology, hearing all of their amazing stories and all of their journeys, how has that changed you and impacted you?
Yeah, so I don't know if I could just say it's just the 20, right? So each guest comes on and they share something, a part of their life. And I always share this as, if you're a host of a podcast, you can listen to so many people and you're able to absorb that energy, whatever they have to share, whatever it is you're talking about, and you can run with that. And so like these people, yourselves included, came on just the podcast itself and shared your journey. And now that you're sharing more in the book, it's a little bit more in depth and hopefully something that we didn't really discuss. And I'm excited, for what you guys are doing, as far as the book and stuff. And for me, you guys all, everybody, shared something great on the podcast. And, Andrew is one I can think of off the top of my head where, he's done a complete change in his life, and he's showing up in ways that I can't even think of how to show up. And I know he's doing good things down where his community is and stuff. And I see posts every once in a while. But he's all about this. Like, he's all about being part of this book because he's never been in one either before. And so now he gets to share that with other people and hand it out. And I know, if I'm right, he shared something completely different in the book than what he shared on the podcast, which is amazing. So that's what I take from it. Everybody's sharing pieces of their life together, uh, the podcast and in the book, and it's just all coming together. And again, Tish, you're doing amazing stuff here because I know you have Christopher coming on next tomorrow, I believe. And so
Oh,
like this is
yeah.
yeah, so like and we all don't get together and have chats all the time because it's just hard to bring everybody together. Everybody's got lives, right? So I think what you're doing is, if it's one person coming on, or two or three like that, I think this is cool. Yeah. So thank you, Cassidy. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I know, at least on my behalf, I appreciate the opportunity. So I'm glad that you are opening up that possibility for everybody and all these other authors to be able to share their stories and their journeys, and be able to kind of just have like a group or a family in the shared experience. I know Lindsay and Tish are a part of other books, and this is my first one, but it's still a special opportunity. So Tish shared that you are a co-author in the book Surrender to Rise, and that you also did some live events. Share with us what inspired you to be part of that anthology.
Yeah, so Elena approached me about it, right? So I was going to her event, and she said, I'm doing an anthology with men, around faith, right? And so I'm like, okay, I've been on this faith journey now. It's been about 3 years or so. And so there was last year that book came out. And so I shared with her, I said, look, I'm still learning. Like, I don't know everything, but I shared in that book of, how God showed up in my life for me to start going to church and start, going down that process of what the Bible is all about. So that's why I got involved in that. And it made me open up a little bit too. Like, God is there for me no matter what. And now I get to go down further and just navigate that, not just in the anthology, but even further. So writing that allows you to go, yeah, he spoke to me for a reason, and now I can go ahead and go to church and go further with my studies with the Bible. Yeah, and so like that's what I don't see your question here, but that's what started. That's why I got in the anthology. And then I'm sorry, what was the other part?
I just wanted to know like what inspired you to be part of that anthology.
Yeah, so that's basically what it was, right? She asked me. I said, sure, why not? And I think that was the first one, if I'm right, and just wing it and see what happens. And so I met people because I went to her event too. I went there to speak, and I went there to speak on my journey that I've been through, and it touched on the faith part a little bit too. And it opens doors, right? So as you guys
Mhm.
already know, you guys met so many people you probably would have never met before.
Mhm.
And where that takes you, I have no idea, right? Whether it's just you helping somebody else with what you experience, or it could be business related. I don't know. But I'm just glad that you're able to come together as a family, as a community, however you want to put it, and just see where it takes you, where God leads you with everything that you're doing. And Cassie, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm not going to ask you questions as much, but this was the first podcast you came on. This was the first book, right? And so I know before you said yes to the podcast, you struggled a little bit. We had a call, and then you hesitated for a little bit, which is fine. I get that completely. But you opened up, and I don't know what that did for you. I think you said some stuff to me thereafter, but it's kind of like it's like therapy in a sense. The more and more you tell your story, the better and better you feel, and you feel more of a purpose of sharing what you experience to others. Right. You don't know where it's going to take them, but hopefully they can go, wow, she went through that. Not that they're going through the same thing, but they can get through whatever they're going through as well, because maybe they don't have it as bad as they would think. Right. So, you know, you have to give yourself props for just, pulling the trigger, and even though you hesitated, you still did it. Right. And so I don't know if God jumped in there and pushed you a little bit, or I know Lindsay or whatever, but oh, okay. Lindsay pushed you.
Yeah, Lindsay, yeah,
Mom.
we double teamed her.
Yeah.
They sure
But
did.
yeah, but that was the beginning, right? And so I pray that wherever this takes you, it's going to be good for you and for the people that listen.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. I want to ask you one more question. I'm gonna ask you the same thing that I asked Emilio. Where do you feel like God is taking you next?
That's a great question. So, as you know, everything I'm doing with podcasts, with the book, and all that kind of stuff, where I see myself going next, number one, I'll do another book, same thing. Number two, I'm doing another book with podcasters. I want to take the Life's Checkmark book, the guest. I want to take it to stage. So, Cassidy, for you, for example, since you've never been on a podcast, you never written in a book before, maybe you want the opportunity to speak. And we're all a family in a sense, right? So if I can create that, I want you to be in that environment where you can share with people in person, and feel the emotions and everything going on instead of just Zoom. So I want to do that. I want to do another event for podcasters next year. And yeah, thereafter, I'm not so sure about everything else, but me and Giselle are working on a couple things too together with books and podcasting. But for me, it's all about other people. Uh, yeah, having a podcast for me, it's about having them have a podcast because I can only take so many people. I meet so many people and I can't take them all. You know, if I'm only pushing one per week, I would love to have a whole bunch of podcasters on the side and say, look, they're looking for a guest. Go speak to them for now. Come back to me later because my schedule's full or something, right? And
Mhm.
share whatever it is you have to share. I don't care what the podcast is about, right? As I mentioned, it could be comedy, it could be music, it doesn't matter. As long as it's something that's going to help change the world and change somebody else's life. So I would love to create that community and help podcasters keep moving forward. Like I said, so many fall off. So that's one of my big goals is to kind of just grow that and make that even more powerful. And then there's other big things I could think about, but I'll stop there. But those are the few I can think off the top of my head.
Wow.
Those are amazing goals that you have, though. And I mean, I'm sure you're going to pursue them too. So
That is
Yes,
awesome.
yes, I am.
So thank you so much, Jonathan, for putting up with my comical nonsense.
Anytime, Tish.
For being the best dad, being so patient with all of us with our 20 million zillion questions, clarity. Lindsay, do you have another question or anything that you want to share before we let Jonathan go to his next podcast?
I do have one more quick question that I thought of. So we know that number 200 was on May 5th. When was number 1?
Episode 1.
Yes.
So I think it was November of 2022.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I was
Yeah.
curious. I was hoping to, have you get a little stumped there, but and have just like what you did, a little stumped. I
Yeah, a little
think it
stumped.
was.
he said,
Yeah.
I think we should fact check that.
Yeah,
We
let's
should
fact
fact
check
check
that.
it. Yes.
You can check it out. Go ahead. That's all right.
Jonathan, any last words? We've been sharing the real stories, the real power, the movement, just everything. So any last words before you have to run off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love for you to share the YouTube link so everybody can jump on the June 6th at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern and they can watch everything happen live with the book
Okay.
launch. Yeah, so just use that. That's what everybody can jump on and watch everything. Um, I believe they can comment and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be fun. And then we'll talk about what's going to happen thereafter after we're done that. So I'm excited. So everybody's invited. The world's invited. We got Annie from Greece, and Penny from
The
the
UK.
UK. Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Sean's in Canada and Marie's down in Puerto Rico. So yeah, and everybody else is in the States, I believe. So yeah, I'm excited. So yeah, just drop that link and join us. It'll be about an
Awesome.
hour and a half or so.
Well, and I would like to end our little gathering, family affair gathering, with a a phrase that is used by another nonprofit, change the world, save a life. And that is exactly what is going on with your work. And God bless you for that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Can I
everyone.
throw something in real quick?
Yes.
Jonathan nailed it on the head. 11/22 of 22 was episode 1.
Oh my goodness. See, we get all of his we're all smart like that because of Dad, right?
That's right.
Thanks
All
for
right.
checking on me.
Yes,
Absolutely.
she's like that. All
When
right.
was your 20th episode? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Now you're going to get us grounded, Cassidy. Be quiet.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us out there, and have a good evening or a good afternoon, and join us tomorrow. We have another co-author, and we will, like Jonathan said, we'll be sharing the link for that fun time on June 6th with the launch of the book. Thank you again, everyone. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Jonathan.
Thank you.
Bye.